Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello, welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the show where you ask a question and we give you an answer. Or rather, we do that twice because we're doubling up these days. We've got two wonderful questions and hopefully some semi-decent answers as well. So before we get to those, if your curiosity is piqued, you've got a question, a burning question that you just must get an answer to, well, you'll be wanting to know how you ask it.
Yes, you've got your own personal property investment hotline. Call in on 013 808 00035 or go to thepropertyhub.net/podcast and leave a recording via your computer. Either way, super simple. That's what Mick did. Let's listen to his question.
Hi Rob and Rob, it's Mick from Preston in Lancashire. I just want to thank you both for all the great information you put out because it's given me the confidence to get a great deal on my own property and to also be in the process of purchasing my first investment property. So I thank you both for that. But what I'd like to do is get my kids into property investment at some stage. They're only 9 and 11 at the moment, but sometime in the future, I want them to get into property investment. So I want to know what you guys think about, should I be purchasing them a property now or in the next couple of years to then hand over to them when they are responsible for that kind of thing? Or do you think you should let them do their own research and learn the hard way? I'd love them to get into property investment. I just wish I'd have got into it earlier. So that's my question to you guys. At what stage do you think we should be introducing our kids to property investment? Thanks, guys, and I look forward to your answer.
Brilliant question, Mick. Really, really good question. Kind of had me stumped this when you first asked it, because there's a whole lot more to this than just should you help your kids out. It's the whole question of should they do it for themselves? Should you help them out? And I don't think there's one answer for that. And everyone will be very opinionated on this, whether they should get their children off to the best start or they should make them work for it a bit. And this is the property podcast, not the parenting podcast. So I'm going to play it safe and not give this is how you should bring up your children. However, getting your kids involved in property investment, whether that's buying them a property or something else, I think is a great idea. There's some interesting resources out there. I know there's Rich Dad, Poor Dad for kids, and that caters for different age groups. That could be something that they may find interesting, just spark that little trigger off inside them that makes them want to find out more. So possibly approach it from an interesting education angle. I know there's this really good podcast as well that they probably actually won't listen to, but the Rich Dad, Poor Dad information and games that are out there, and computer games as well, will probably be the easiest step into property investment for them. Start with the education, capture their interest, and if they've got an appetite for it, keep going. And then whether you want to help them out with physical property purchases, well, that's up to you. But certainly, giving them a financial education is critical because they're not going to learn it at school, nothing any of value anyway when it comes to finance. So by you doing this, I think is going to give your children a great start regardless.
Yeah, this is a bit of a pet topic of mine, how nothing of any importance in terms of financial education gets covered in school. When I was at school, I think we had one lesson once about things like mortgages and credit card rates and stuff like that. But it really isn't enough. It's one of the most important things in life, and it just doesn't get taught at all. So good on you for wanting to take the initiative and get your kids into this kind of thing. I think if you decide to actually buy them their own property or not, what Rob was saying, get them involved. Force them, I would say, to get involved with what you're doing with your own portfolio. Drag them round to do whatever you're doing if you're hands-on, or get them involved in the admin side. I think at the time they might not thank you for it. They'll probably have a million things they'd rather be doing and think it's all really boring. But it might just plant that seed. So when they get a little bit older and they start thinking, well, I don't really fancy working for a living all my life, it might come back to them and they'll think, that sounds like a good option. And then they'll start listening to a wonderful podcast, if we're still doing it in that number of years, and they'll start to get into it for themselves. So no hard and fast answers there. Definitely not the parenting podcast, but good on you for thinking along those lines. I'm sure as you're thinking about this kind of thing, they'll be fine, whatever you decide to do. So let's move from the big picture down to a bit more nitty-gritty detail and have a question from Dave.
Hello, Rob and Rob. Dave here. Myself and 3 partners are looking at just starting in the buy to sell of the property. And just a quick question, really. we watched the free training that you did with Susanna Cole on Buy to Sell, and we noticed it said they do about 48 surveys. Just wondering what kind of surveys are needed and which ones are essential before buying a property. Thanks. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Okay, Dave, thanks for the question. I think in that course we're talking about lots of different data points rather than specifically surveys. But there are a couple of different surveys you can get depending on your level of knowledge. So if you've got a lot of knowledge yourself, you don't necessarily need to be getting any kind of survey done. If you could look at the kind of the expensive things that are likely to go wrong, like the structure, the boiler, the electrics, the roof, things like that, and you can form your own opinion of their condition, then you don't necessarily need any kind of survey. Or if you've got a builder who can bring round to give you an opinion, then that's fine too. But if you do want something more formal, there are a couple of options.
There are indeed. You can go for two types, as Rob said. You can go for a home buyer's survey, which is kind of the middle of the road. So it's going to give you a lot of information, and for many people, that'll be more than enough. But depending on the type of project and the potential work involved and your level of experience, you may find some comfort in a structural survey, which is in a whole other level. Home buyer surveys normally do give you a lot, so it's going to be down to you, your experience, the project in hand, and then you'll make a decision based on that. So 3 types of surveys, one evaluation one, that's not going to do you much good, a home buyer's, and the structural. Obviously, if you're just getting a normal buy-to-let and doesn't need any work, then evaluation survey will be enough. This is specifically for people who are doing refurbs. So the great thing is, Dave has taken advantage of one of the many free courses on the Property Hub. And if you haven't yet, why not? They're free. We make them for you. Take advantage of them. Go to thepropertyhub.net, click on free training right at the top. Can't miss it. And dig in. It's free. Take advantage of it. There's multiple courses all on property that we've put together for you. No catch, no sell-up, just a load of property goodness. Take advantage of it.
Yep, and as if that wasn't enough, we're going to be back with more audio goodness on Thursday with a property podcast, and back here next week with another couple of questions. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.